question. Who put out that horrible, terrible, bad rumor that y'all broke up? Who did that?
Your sister.
Toni Braxton.
Right, I don't believe they got married. I think that's a lie. The reason why I think it's a lie because Stella not gonna do nothing without Slim being there or Slim knowing something about it.
Toni Braxton finally broke her silence on all those Birdman and Cash Money rumors that have been circulating for years. Birdman's Cash Money empire has long been rumored to be built on dark energy and questionable rituals. And now, thanks to Toni, we're seeing that same energy start to consume him. For years, people viewed Toni and Birdman as an unlikely fairy tale couple. After all, what was a refined, soulful woman like Toni doing with a street-tough mogul like Birdman? But their relationship was never as simple as it looked. Behind the diamonds, the private jets, and the glamorous image, there was a darkness that weighed heavy. Toni didn't walk away because the love faded. She walked away because she saw firsthand how power can twist into something dangerous. Their secret marriage wasn't just gossip. It was real enough to leave a trail of paperwork and a storm of online denials. Just 2 weeks after they tied the knot, everything fell apart. Toni jumped on social media, dismissed the rumors as false, and began deleting all traces of their union. That wasn't panic. It was self-preservation. For years, whispers have swirled about the strange things happening within Cash Money, odd meetings, mysterious decisions, and unsettling patterns that artists like Juvenile have been warning about for ages.
It was weird to me when I got the Cash Money. It was the weirdest thing. I knew they had all these artists on the label.
Right.
So I get to the label, and then all of a sudden, they let all the artists go, all the other artists go.
Toni came face to face with the darker side of Birdman's world and quickly realized what she was dealing with. She had already survived real battles like lupus, heart surgery, and near-death experiences, but this was something completely different. Toni began to distance herself from Birdman immediately. She cleaned up her social media, stepped away from the chaos, and focused on performing and staying healthy. Meanwhile, Birdman's world began to fade. Cameras caught him dozing off during performances, looking pale and weak like someone poisoned by his own habits. Some people online joked, calling him the Black Joe Biden. Ever since that Hot Boys reunion tour, clips started circulating everywhere. Birdman could be seen standing under bright lights, eyes half closed, losing focus mid-sentence while the crowd murmured in confusion. Some fans thought he was having seizures, others believed it was a relapse. The videos spread fast. It felt like déjà vu. The once unstoppable Stunnaman looked completely drained. People close to him rushed to silence the rumors. BG laughed it off in an interview, insisting Birdman wasn't high, just tired and struggling to read the teleprompter. "That man all business," he said, brushing it away like nothing. That's the same story Birdman's circle kept pushing. No relapse, no sickness, just exhaustion and bad lighting. Maybe that's true, but maybe it's something deeper. Maybe it's karma finally catching up. It's hard to forget the image of Birdman nodding under the spotlight while the music played on, especially when so many connected to that empire have fallen, artists who lost their spark, careers that faded, voices that disappeared after the fame. So let's call it what it is. Toni didn't just leave a man, she escaped a system that was consuming itself from the inside out. Birdman's name has been linked to the word ritual for years, but when people talk about Cash Money rituals, they're not talking about candles and pentagrams. The real rituals were about power, loyalty, and control. From the outside, Cash Money looked like a music label, but inside it ran more like a secret society. Every artist had to prove their obedience before earning the right to wear the logo. Think about it. The kisses on the lips, the daddy nickname, the matching tattoos, those weren't random. They were signs of loyalty. Signing with Cash Money wasn't just a business move, it was a commitment. Birdman turned daily routines into performances, lining up cars, flashing money, tossing out chains like trophies. But every one of those gestures carried a message. This came from me, don't forget who you owe. It was loyalty theater, and everyone had a part to play. Silence was also part of the rule. Those who spoke out like UNLV or Kylo G quietly disappeared from the narrative. Some even believe Kilo's death was linked to Cash Money after he started talking too much. It wasn't until Lil Wayne challenged Birdman that the cracks began to show. The image of family faded, revealing what it really was: control disguised as love. Online people love to hype Cash Money's rituals like some kind of dark magic, but the truth is simpler and colder. Birdman's empire was built on psychological control. The real sacrifices weren't blood, they were freedom, independence, and identity. Birdman repeated those same behaviors so often that they turned into belief, even when everyone knew they were fake. That's the world Toni walked into. She saw how everyone froze when Birdman entered the room. To her, it didn't feel like love. It felt like warning lights flashing all around him. Worship was expected, but Toni wasn't built for that. She had fought too hard for her peace and sanity to let anyone take control again.
The guy that don't pay the producers to the last minute. Oh, let me stop. I love Birdman.
So she broke the cycle the only way she could, by walking away. When she did, Birdman's empire started to crumble piece by piece. Their short-lived marriage became the first public sign of his downfall. Although Toni and Birdman went public in 2016, they secretly married years later, but the honeymoon barely lasted. Just 2 days after the ceremony, Toni filed for divorce, calling it an irretrievably broken union. She later withdrew the petition in January 2025, but by mid-year, both had scrubbed each other from social media, confirming the split was real. Then Birdman went online firing shots. He accused Toni of being a gold digger, claimed she pawned her engagement ring, and even said she was after a $160 million payout. When gossip blogs and livestream hosts picked it up, the situation exploded. Fans chose sides instantly. R&B and pop circles saw Birdman as manipulative, while Southern rap fans defended him as a boss who never backs down. Financially, Birdman stayed afloat since the divorce filings were dismissed, but his image took a beating. Toni, on the other hand, gained public sympathy at first, though her $160 million demand and rumors about a missing $5 million ring brought up her past bankruptcies and hurt some endorsement deals. Still, the drama reignited interest in her old music and boosted her projects around women's financial independence. Cash Money Records itself wasn't untouched. The feud exposed fractures within the label and weakened Birdman's relationships with longtime collaborators. Some mid-tier producers tied to Lil Wayne's Young Money began freezing collaborations with Birdman's newer artists once the drama hit the internet. But Birdman, always a hustler, flipped the chaos into promotion, turning headlines into streams and gossip into marketing for his rich gang projects. When the dust finally settled, Birdman still held on to Cash Money, but the respect, the mystique, the cultural goodwill was gone. Toni walked away with her dignity and a wave of empathy, even if some doubted her motives. The legendary Cash Money alliance was officially over. And when it comes to money, the financial rituals behind Cash Money have always been just as notorious as the music. Jadakiss joked about it on stage for a reason. Cash Money shaped Southern hip-hop and built a legacy of hit records. But behind the success, the business often crossed the line between tough management and outright exploitation. Behind the flashy cars, designer clothes, and mansion photo shoots, there was a system built to keep artists indebted and Birdman firmly in control. For decades, several artists claimed their label advances were never fully paid or were structured as recoupable debts with little to no transparency. Tyga's $10 million lawsuit revealed that even as a teenager, his contract included a lawyer who represented both him and the label, a clear conflict of interest that ensured every deal favored Cash Money. Lil Wayne's 2017 legal battle with the label went even further. He accused Cash Money and Universal of secretly manipulating his streaming and publishing profits, forcing him into a settlement worth far less than what he had earned. Much like Suge Knight on the West Coast, Birdman used flashy gifts, cash, cars, and jewelry as symbolic payments in the East. It was a tactic to keep artists tied to him long after the fame faded. Even the contracts were part of the ritual. Cash Money's 1998 deal with Universal set the tone for everything that followed. An 80-20 profit split favoring the label, a business model Birdman used on his own artists. Most performers never owned their masters, and royalty statements were nearly impossible to obtain.
Never allowed none of the labels to own nothing. I own everything.
Universal.
No, Universal never owned